for me if my screen is visible. I'm going to just share it now. Yeah, I think it is coming up. Yeah, it is coming up now. Okay. So hopefully this is my entire screen, my desktop is visible to you all. Gauri ma'am, you can confirm or anybody can just confirm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So let's come back to our Amazon console, and here we will be searching for relational database service, right? Or you can scroll down and locate RDS, right? There are again different types of services available in this database category. Right? One is obviously the relational one. The DynamoDB is for NoSQL database. Here we in DynamoDB you don't need to do anything. It's a totally managed service. You just go and create, start putting your data, create a table and start putting your entries there. Right? Yes, cache is again there to improve the performance of your application, database instance, or mainly for database instance. And through Elasticache, Amazon supports two different engines. One is known as Redis, and the other one is known as Memcache. So based on your use case, you can go and select one of them. Neptune is kind of, it's basically a graph database. If you are dealing with, if you want to deal with graph database and cloud, obviously you have to go and deal with Neptune. Redshift, it's related to data warehouse kind of, storage. So a blockchain, it's kind of blockchain database. That's all I know about this. And DocumentDB is nothing but it's a copy of MongoDB. MongoDB is again a NoSQL database from MongoDB. The name of the company is also MongoDB. So if you want to migrate any workload from your current on-premise MongoDB database to cloud, you can obviously use DocumentDB for your MongoDB workload. You see, these are some of the major databases that are in use, but obviously RDS or relational database is one of the largest customer base in terms of usage.
Arvind sir is coming. Just wait for 2 minutes. हॅलो सरांनी प्रेझेंट पण केले का? ठीक आहे ठीक आहे ठीक आहे.
Okay. So it is asking us which, whether you are creating this database for your, production purpose or for dev test or free tier. So we can continue with this free tier option, because in free tier also we have 750 hours for a particular RDS instance. Okay. So we can continue running one database RDS instance in cloud without paying anything to Amazon. But again, there are certain conditions that we should be understanding as well. Now, within your RDS dashboard, there will be, again, there might be many different databases instance that you might be using. So we have to give it a distinct name. Okay. So we can continue with this database -1, or we can just change it to something like database, or just say DB5. DB5. You have to set the credentials. Right? You can go and change use the master username. You can go ahead and generate an auto-generated password. You use this option of auto-generate a password and get a password, or else you can go and set your own password here. Okay, I'll continue with this master username, and using this master username, we will be able to connect. There will be again 4 different parameters using which we can establish a connection with with an RDS instance, and in that one is going to be this username. So you can change this, or you can keep whatever you want. I'll continue with the default one, and I need to set one password here. Confirm the password. Now in free tier, we don't have much option. We have to go for this, E2 micro, db.e2.micro. This is the only option which is available within the free tier. Similar to what we were getting in the instance, right? There we were using only, we were allowed to use only E2 micro. Here also db.e2.micro. But if you go and select dev test environment, other options like standard class and memory optimize will become enabled. Now we have to decide about the storage. Like in our EC2 instance, there we had, we had attached 8 GB of storage for the Amazon Linux AMI. Here also, we have to attach some storage, right? So minimum we have to allocate at least 20 GB for this DB engine that we are selecting. And storage type, obviously, we can go and select from general purpose to Cognizant. Okay. Here again, general purpose comes under free tier, so only and only if you need a better performance, you can go for Cognizant IOPS. Somebody is, I think, unmuted, so I request her to. Thank you. So this is the storage that we have to allocate, and there is a very interesting concept in this database instance. It's not there in our EC2 instance, and that is that you can enable this option, right? Option of storage auto scaling. So we have seen yesterday horizontal scaling of EC2 instance, where based on our need we can go and set up one scaling policy, and based on that policy it is going to add additional number of virtual machines, or it can get rid of those additional virtual machines when the workload is less. Similarly, here the database are needed for storing data. Obviously, we need some kind of better storage management approach. So here, for the type of you know storage I am using, like general purpose SSD, so we will get around 16 TB of storage. Okay, and out of the 16 TB, you can set the upper limit, and again, it is going to be decided based on your actual data need and how fast your data is increasing. Based on that, you have to go and decide what should be the maximum threshold. And again, it is ultimately it is obviously going to be decided by the budget that you are having. Okay? So if you enable this storage auto scaling, you will be only paying for minimum this 20 GB of storage. And once your storage has gone, beyond say 20 GB, and it is still less than maximum storage threshold, you will be paying for those additional storage that you are consuming. Right? Suppose you are at the end of 20 GB storage, after a week, your storage is say 40 GB, the storage that you are consuming. Right? So you will be paying for 40 GB and not for this upper limit that we have set. Okay? So this is something which is really good in this particular RDS service. Right? Availability and durability. There is a concept of multi-AZ deployment, right? And this is enabled by default in production. If we have selected the free tier option initially, right? If you go and select the production, there Amazon always says that you should be going ahead with multi-AZ deployment. So what happens in multi-AZ deployment? See, again, in this, we have primary and secondary concept master. I would not say master and slave, it is basically primary and secondary. Right? And these two RDS instances will be created in two different availability zones. And that is why it is known as multi-AZ deployment. You cannot go and create I mean, obviously, there is no concept of single AZ. You can go and do that, but multi-AZ is what gives you better availability. Right? If something goes wrong in one of your AZ, your secondary, which is running in some other availability zone, it is there to help you out. So if you go ahead with multi-AZ deployment and in case of multi-AZ deployment, at any point of time, only one of your DB instance, right, will be accessible from outside or within your VPC. So all the request is going to be handled by your primary. But because of some reason, suppose your primary goes down, right? Primary goes down, then automatically we don't have to go and do anything manually. Automatically, RDS is going to switch towards your secondary. And before switching to secondary, it is going to be promoted as primary. And this happens within, around, it takes around 30 seconds to 30 seconds of time, not beyond that. Within 30 seconds, perform this DNS switch and make this accessible to all, right? So it is a really good feature where your users are not going to be impacted if there is something wrong with your, primary. And it is also, multi is also widely used in case of, if you have to go and do some kind of maintenance work on primary, if there is a major upgrade that needs to be performed for your database instance. You can go and obviously, stop your primary RDS instance. And because of this multi-AZ setup, this DNS switch will happen and it will start pointing towards the secondary, and the user are going to be handled through your secondary database instance. And meanwhile, you can go and apply any kind of patch and updates on your primary. So there are a couple of uses, but yeah. So I don't know what happened. Hopefully, I'm audible. Okay, seems I'm online then. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know why suddenly I thought there is some internet issue. Okay, so this is what about multi-AZ. So multi-AZ we don't need for our demonstration and all, because there is a separate cost, and database instance cost is going to be obviously higher than your EC2 instance cost. because EC2 doesn't come under your managed service. RDS is a managed service. Amazon is doing a lot of work behind supporting or giving, providing this instance or making this instance available to us. Right? We'll just get rid of this one before going ahead with our instance page. This is the way you are going to delete your instance. Just give me a moment. I have to create a permission. Previously, it used to give me, that privilege of deleting the instance without going for the final snap. So let's go back and start again because we were locked out, fortunately. Okay. So we had selected MySQL for our database engine. Yeah. We continue with this default MySQL version. Instead of production, we will go and select PTF. I'll continue with this database instance name, database instance identifier. We have to stick with the vocabulary that Amazon has given us to avoid confusion. Password again. So we will continue with this story scaling setting that we have done. Yeah. After multi-AC, we have to decide about the connectivity. Now here, you will go and decide in which network or in which VPC your instance should be created. Okay. So for this demonstration, I will again continue with the default one, the one that we use for our EC2. Okay. So this is the one that we will be using. Now again, if we need some additional configuration, what are those additional configuration? In which subnet group I want to keep my this particular DB instance. And these are required for some special purpose. So we will just skip these things. Publicly accessible. So if you want your data, obviously database shouldn't be accessible publicly. So that's the reason we are getting this no selection as default. But suppose we want to work on your database using, say, some local, tool. We might be using, you can go and use any MySQL client like MySQL Workbench to connect to your database. In that case, you have to use this option publicly accessible or do some settings using which you can connect to your database instance. How to do that? So this is one particular tool that normally I use for demonstration. Right? This you can use to connect to your RDS instance locally from your machine. So for the demo, I will just continue with this no option, setting of no, and now again, since this RDS instance is going to be within a subnet, which is again within a VPC, we have to decide about the security group. Okay. So default is not that useful, so we can just skip this one and then add any other security group. Right. So we can continue with this particular database security group that I have created. I'll show you what exactly are the posts that I'm opening from there. Okay. I can continue with default selection, no preference. It can go and create in any one of this subnet. Okay, in any one of this availability zone. Okay, which again maps to your subnet. Data for database for RDS, we need to open this code. So by default, it is there. Obviously, if you want to go and use something else, you have to do some different kind of settings. Right? Then only you can go and change it. Database authentication, I will go ahead and use the password that I had set, username, admin, and password, whatever I get created, to access to this database. Some more configuration. Now you have to give it a name. Now this is going to be important because using this database name, we will be connecting to our database instance from some other instance or say externally, right? So I will just give it a name my demo DB 123. Again, this parameter group and option group are there to facilitate some kind of better performance. Let's go ahead with our backup. Yeah, this is one of the most important feature of this RDS instance, and this is not available if you go ahead and install your database directly on an EC2 instance. And what it is, this is automated backup. So how it is useful? So with the help of automated backup, you can achieve point-in-time recovery. Okay? So if for any point of time, from at any point of time, if you want to recover your database from your past, you can go and do that. Right? The other good feature of this automated backup is whatever the storage that your database is consuming. Assume suppose right now suppose that it is consuming say 500 GB of storage. Right? That much data your database is having. So for automated backup, Amazon is going to make you 500 GB available without charging you anything. And this is one of the best part of your automated backup. It is useful. Plus, Amazon is not asking you to pay anything for the storage that it is going to consume. This backup is going to consume. Right? So ideally, you should go and enable this one. Right? Now you can decide that how long you want to keep your this automated backup. You can go and select from 0 to 35. Okay, max is 35. Right? So you can go and decide. We will just continue with the default one. And for this backup to happen, you can go and select a particular time, which is again there in UTC. And you can decide for how long you want this to happen, right? Because based on the size of the database, you will come to know, or you will calculate that how much time it is going to take, and that you can specify. Okay? We will continue with no preference, and then RDS is going to decide when to take the automatic backup, right? Monitoring again, if you click on this enhanced monitoring, you will the refresh rate of your data in your RDS related matrices will improve. It will come down. The default refresh rate of your matrices is 300 seconds. So whatever the data that you're looking into right now, it will be updated after 5 seconds, or it will be updated after sorry, not 5 seconds, after 5 minutes, 300 seconds. Okay. So the default one is 300 seconds, but if you want a better refresh rate, you can go and change it from 1 to 60 seconds. But again, there is some cost associated with enabling enhanced monitoring. What about logs? Now, since we are dealing with the database, we will be needing this audit log, error log, general log, slow query log. Right? Obviously, this will help us to improve on the. See, we understand that many times the response from the database is slow because of the way we have written the query. And to query log, we will come to know how much time it is taking, or is there any way we can write this any database related query in a better way to improve upon the latency. Error log obviously it will help us in debugging the issues with our database. And audit log is obviously required for auditing purpose. Right. So again, as I told you initially in I think day 2 when we were discussing IAM. So here RDS is going to create a particular role, right? And that role is going to, because RDS is a different service, and these logs are going to be stored on CloudWatch. For any log, for any kind of matrices that that becomes visible from CloudWatch, for that it obviously needs some input, and those input are logs generated by a specific service. Now in this particular case, this log is going to be generated by RDS. So obviously RDS service needs some access on CloudWatch logs, and for that RDS is going to create this particular role. Okay. One more setting, maintenance. Right? So if you go and enable minor version upgrade, so minor version upgrade is going to be taken care by Amazon. Obviously, we cannot go for major version upgrade because that needs a lot of testing beforehand, whether my upgraded whatever my targeted upgrade how my current database is going to work, how my queries are going to perform. It's all on C basis. Then only we can go for major upgrade, right? But obviously, minor upgrades are not that impactful. So if we want that this minor upgrade should be taken control by RDS, we can go and select this option, or we can disable this. Okay. And if you select this option, based on that, you can select a particular time frame in which you want this to happen. One minor version upgrade. We'll continue with the preference option. Deletion protection again, like in EC2, here also we have this option. If we enable this option, then accidentally my database instance is not going to be deleted. Okay, so normally we go and enable this option, right? And at the end, you will get the cost, right? Summary of the cost, because database instance uses R, you use R obviously, slightly more on the pricing side. So we should be aware what exactly is the cost that is going to be associated on monthly basis. Okay, since we are in the free tier, so it is saying that 750 hours in a single AZ DB T2 micro, right? So this 750 is available only for single AZ. That means I can go and install RDS in one of the availability zone. I cannot think of using multi AZ. Okay. 20 GB is the free storage that I am going to get within my free tier. If I go beyond this, then I have to pay for the additional storage. Suppose you are using 25 GB within free tier, you need to pay only for the 5 GB, additional 5 GB storage. And that too for only SSD, solid state drive. For provision IOs, there is no option for free tier. Okay. So these we should be knowing. And 20 GB of automated backup storage and any user initiated DB snapshot. So this storage is again not chargeable. Why 20 GB? Because currently that is the storage that I have selected. If my storage grows from 20 to say 50 GB, then that 50 GB is again going to be allocated for my automated backup. Right? So there is a concept of automated backup in RDS. There is also a concept of manual backup. So for manual backup, your instance should be at least up and running. Then only you can go and take a manual backup of your instance. If there is a lot of database activity happening, obviously we have to go and stop our instance and take the backup. Or we have to decide about a particular window during this 24-hour time where there are least amount of user activity, and then start our manual backup in that particular time frame. So with these options, we can go and create our database. So again, it is going to take some time. It is going to take some time to create this RDS. Normally it takes, even for DB T2 micro, it takes around 4 to 5 minutes. So what it does, it goes and creates the database. And before making this database instance available, what it is going to do, it is going to take a automated backup. It takes a backup first. And then it gives us the permission to start accessing the database. Okay. So these are very important, the basic concepts that we should be aware of before starting RDS, because the cost of RDS is going to be really high, right? And as long as your database instance is running, it is going to be billable, right? So there is again there are different costs associated with our RDS. So a couple of them we will just go and scroll through. While it is getting created, I will show you some slides before this. Okay, fine. Okay, what happens in case of database? What kind of control we get? Okay. So when you go and install a database within a premise, on premise, within your home, on some particular, not your home, but yeah, in an organizational setup, then you have to go and take care of all these things, right? As backend, obviously, we will not need at our home. But when you are running a database in a large setup, you need to take care of everything, right? Internet connection, packing, server maintenance, OS, everything we have to maintain. Suppose you start using EC2 as a database. There, we have to take care of these orange blocks. These are under control and management of AWS, right? But obviously, we can go and take care of updating the patches, installing the database patches, taking backup, ensuring that my RDS, my database is highly available. Any kind of storage scaling that I have to implement, I have to go and take care of these things when we are running any database on an EC2 instance in cloud. Okay, so in case you go and start using RDS as an instance, RDS as a database instance for your application, for your workload, these all are going to be taken care by your RDS service. Okay, scaling, higher availability, database backup here means the automated backup, manual backup. You have to create the configuration. DB software patches, if you have given this control to RDS, it is an optional obviously, but it is again under the control of Amazon. Okay, so what we are left with, we are only left with application optimization. Here we can go and take control and ensure that everything is fine tuned and working as per the best possible, performance parameters. So self-managed and AWS managed, we can go and do the, we can have this kind of comparison, right? When you self-managed means if you are running a database on an EC2 instance, that is basically a self-managed database. So you have full responsibility of upgrades and backup. You have full responsibility for security. Okay, full control over parameters of server, OS, and database. Replication is expensive and complex and requires a lot of engineering. Obviously, somebody who has managed the database, within an on-premise, it definitely needs good amount of work. And for that, we obviously need if we are running this kind of database, even in cloud, we will need good amount of database supporting. Okay, but obviously in running AWS managed database like RDS comes with certain benefit. Obviously, we will be paying for it, but yeah. And one of the most important I feel is this automatic backup, and number two, this uh, the configuration of multi-AZ. Right? This is basically for failover, and it happens automatically. This configuration, these are some of the advantages that we get if we are using RDS as a our database service in cloud. Okay. Pricing, let me see if I can show you pricing. Okay, it's not this. It's some more points. These are the supported engines, really non-relational. And in Amazon, what is the yeah. So we will be charged based on the type of RDS engine we are selecting. That is going to obviously going to be a variable in terms of your cost or billing. Number two, in instance RDS instance class. So if you are selecting db.t2.micro, it is going to be obviously free for at least 1 year for one RDS instance. If you are running two RDS instance, then again your this RDS free tier will get exhausted in 15 days. Same what we are getting in EC2, right? But if you go and you start using any other RDS type instance like T2 medium or whatever, it is going to be obviously having some different cost. Purchasing terms will also decide or impact your billing. On demand and reserve, these are the two main categories which is going to impact. On demand obviously is going to be, it is going to cost us more. But why we go for on demand? Because we don't know initially when we are running a new application in say production environment. There we go ahead with some some calculation that okay, this much database storage I will be needing, right? And based on that, you go and decide about the database instance type and storage and other parameters. But once you are tested the water, once you know that okay, this is my usage pattern and this is the way my database storage is increasing, this is my compute need, you go and reserve these RDS instance, right? Reserving certain number of RDS instance does save around 30 to 40% of all your bill. Okay, but obviously on demand is needed because initially we don't know how many of the instance will be needed to reserve. So we can resource, we have to start with on demand. Or if we have a long vision, some calculation, you can go and start, reserve some number of instances and then go ahead with your usage. Fourth parameter, storage. So 20 GB free, but after that you have to pay for every GB. Okay. Data transfer in and out of RDS. This is also going to be a parameter that is going to impact your billing. So you can see there are five different factors which is going to impact your budget. So whenever you are using this RDS instance, you have to go and consider this, right? Tomorrow, I will show you some sample, calculation that how to calculate what would be your budget, what would be your, the cost that you want to go for, the cost of the services that you will end up paying at the end of the month. How to do that calculation? We will see this tomorrow. Okay, there are security and concepts all now. We will just go and connect to our database. Again, it is going to take some time. We just need to verify if my so it is still backing up my database. Okay, now it is available. So it takes some time to just wait for this confirmation. Successfully created database, and it is. I think it is also done in progress. Creating final snapshot. I think it is related to my last database instance that I just deleted. Okay, so you can see here I have not selected any specific availability zone, but it is in one app. Okay, size. Just need to verify. I mean, accidentally sometimes we go and select, any different, some different database instance. If you are not within that criteria, criteria doesn't allow you to select any other database instance. Okay, but if you have selected dev, test environment or production, then accidentally you may select wrong database instance type. So you should be aware. You should come back and verify because the cost increases like anything. It is quite costly going out of criteria. So let's go and check the different parameters associated with this RDS. Okay. So you can see here it gives us a lot of information, right, from connectivity and security, monitoring, log event and configuration, how the maintenance and backup I have planned. These all will be available here, and you can go and edit any of these parameters once the instance is up and running. One of the most important thing, this is the database endpoint, right? Using this, I will be connecting to my database. Like yesterday, load balancer. For load balancer, we also do not get any public IP address. Though load balancer is again running on some EC2 instance, but we don't have access to it because load balancer is again a fully managed service. So what we get the DNS name of our load balancer. Similarly, for RDS also, we don't get any specific public IP address. Okay, so we get this endpoint, which is again a DNS name. So using this, we have to connect to this database. Okay, and other things is things will be also there, like security group and all. And below you will get to know, right, what is the security which is implemented here. It's security group. What ports I have open, those things you will be seeing here. Most important, again, configuration. So here it will list you the the username, master username, and obviously it will not show you the password that you have to remember, and whether encryption was enabled or not, right? Because it is a storage, so you can go and implement some kind of encryption. Whatever we saw yesterday for S3, here also we can go and use KMS to encrypt our data. You can decide about this encryption and on based on again your use case, because KMS is not free, so you have to think before using. So whenever you go for any resource, you have to find out what is the cost associated. So you have to create a list. You have to create a particular document that will help you to identify the expected cost. Okay. So I should be aware of this. Again, this is going to be important for me. This is going to be important. The public DNS name and password. These four parameters we need to remember. Right, what are those? DB name, DB endpoint, the master username, and the password. Using these four parameters, you can connect to your RDS. Okay. Provided the security group is in place, it is publicly accessible or not, those parameters will obviously come into picture. Okay. So now my audience is there. What I will do is I will go and create an EC2 instance and then establish a connection with this database instance, right? So I will go and switch to EC2. My internet connection is still bad as compared to the previous days. Let's come to instance dashboard. And we just need to ensure, first of all, whenever you go and create your RDS, you should be aware in which region you have created your RDS instance. And in the same region, you have to go and create your EC2 instance. Okay, this is something that we need to remember. Click on launch. Okay. So the script and all that we will be needing for this demonstration. I think it is already shared. And then we just, so I will just skip through these settings. I will continue with the default Amazon VPC, and I can go and again select any subnet. That is fine as long as the region is same and the VPC is same. See, in one particular region, you can go and create a number of VPCs. Right? There is a limit, obviously. So those VPC again have their own scope. If I go and keep my EC2 instance in one VPC and my RDS instance in another VPC, then by default they will not talk to each other. You cannot communicate between these two. What we need to do again, there is a concept of VPC peering that we have to do. And once this peering is established between two different VPC within the same region, our EC2 instance application will be able to talk to the RDS instance. Right? So though my availability zone for RDS instance is 1 app, I am not selecting it. I am okay. I mean, as long as it gets created in the same region, I will be able to establish a connection with that particular RDS that we have created. Okay. Go ahead and just I need to add that same script file. Okay. Browse, and I need that the one that we use for load balancer. Okay. And in that file, we will go and create this file, connect.php. Okay. Add storage. Default 8 GB is fine. I can come below that. For TB for RDS access. Again, it's here. Since this is going to be my application, so I need to select one particular security group where I will get both HTTP and HTTPS. Sorry, HTTP and at least SSH, because I will be needing SSH to connect to my instance. Okay. Review and launch. Click on launch. Select the key here. Right. You have to select. I mean, whatever, if you are having PPK, then you have to go and select your PPK file. If it is a PAM file, you have to go and select a PAM file. So that you need to remember. Okay. Click on it and then start creating it. And it will take some time to create. And once it is created, what I will do at this time, I will not use putty. I will use my SSH client running on my Windows machine. Okay. To connect. So what is the connection string? So if you are using Linux machine, you can obviously use the same approach that I am taking right now. Okay. So this is the public ID that my machine is getting. So as long as the instance state doesn't change from pending to running, this connect button is not going to be enabled. So now it is enabled. So what you can do, you can at least copy the connection string. Okay. And be prepared for the connection, because this status state also needs to change, okay, to perform a successful connection. So after connecting, what I will do, I will go and copy my connect.php file in HTML directory. And the code that I have written there, I will just go and I have to first of all modify that particular piece of code. So how I can do that? First of all, down to I'll go and open directly to explore, come to user data scripts and open script. So this is the file that I'm going to use. I need to open it in some editor. I will go and use Sublime Text. And this is the sample code that I will be using. So if this is a PHP sample code, and this is going to, if the connection is successful, then what will happen? It will show me this success message, right? Connected to MySQL using whatever the username that I am using, and then connected to the database. If the connection fails, you will get this unable to connect to MySQL. This much, if you understand, that is fine. So this is the user ID and password that I'm going to use. I will be using, and again, this I have to change. Okay? This I have to change. So before the password also I need to change here. Okay, and then this host name. Host name is what? The DBS endpoint, my database endpoint. So I will come back to my screen. Address. Okay. So what I am doing, I am connecting to I am trying to find out my database endpoint. Okay. So which I will get it from here. Just copy it properly. Okay. And let's need to paste it here. Right. Just take care of the double quotes and syntax basically. Fine. And my database name is no configuration. Sorry. So my database name and DB name is my daemon DB123. I'm not looking for the DB identifier or the DB instance ID. I'm looking for the database name. The database establishing connection. Okay. Fine. So I think this is again same. I need to delete this one immediately after the session. Nobody will try to copy this stuff. Okay. I'm going to copy this one and I have to use it from my SSH client, right? Here is my SSH client. Fine. I just need to verify again if my instance is up and running or not. Yeah, the status check is 2x2. So I can go and I will just verify again if this inbound rules are correct or not. Yeah, this is fine. And I will go back and connect to my instance, right? So I think I have to do this again. I have taken the connection database instance. So come back to the DS console. Yes, and then here this is the database that I have associated with the security group of the DB instance. So one easy way of doing it, I can directly associate this security group of my EC2 instance with the database instance security. So how I can do that? Select your DB and click on modify. Action, we have stocks. No, I think modify with the best option to change your security group settings. Okay. It's going to timeout after some time if it is not able to connect to the database instance. this one. Let's come back onto this. We have to change the security group, right? Come down, and here we have to add that security group. Which one? The one that is associated with the this is the one SG18 demo underscore SG18 is the database. This I want to add to my security group of the database instance so that it starts recognizing the request coming through my EC2 instance. Scroll down and just click on continue. Modify DB, and it is asking me for this option. Apply to when to apply this modification. I want to apply it immediately. So if there is not much activity on your database, you can go and do this. Otherwise, you have to wait for your maintenance window, and in that maintenance window, you can go and do these changes. So it is adding it right now. You have to wait for some time, and then go back and try again. Back to the security group. That is really bad today. Okay, so the security group that I am using with the database is this one. I need to check check the inbound rule for this security group. Okay, inbound rule, it says, okay, everything is there. And security group. Okay, so what I need to change here, I need to change this MySQL, this specific to this port range 3306. The source I have set it to a specific security group which is not associated with my EC2 instance, and that is why it is not allowing me to connect. Right, so I will go and change the source. So here I can specify I need to delete this one first of all, and then I can go and say custom. If I click on this, it will show me the entire list. Okay, so I want to attach, this is the one, this is that security group which is associated with my EC2 instance. Okay, and hopefully this should now work. So the moment we get this, saved successfully confirmation from here, it becomes applicable. Okay. Okay, it's still not showing me any message. Let me try it in some other browser. This is fine. This is working. Okay, this is not working. There is some issue again with my application. Just give me a moment.
Okay, demo as you have modified. We don't need this one. This is fine. Security group. Okay. DBSG7. IMDB authentication is also good. Okay, let's see. Apply immediately. It will take some time to reflect the changes. Okay, let's try again. Okay, I'll take this one again. I will, come back on this again during the question answer session. I think something is missing because of which it is not able to establish the connection. Many times it could happen because of something missing in my script, or that could be one of the reason. My debut 1 2 3 is correct. Password.
Okay, I'll check this one again. But this is what we need to do. I mean, to connect our application to the RDS instance. Maybe I think I forgot the password, so I will just check it again and then see the last step. Okay. So this is all we have in RDS. Once if you are not using this RDS instance, what we can do, you can go and stop this instance. Right? So like in EC2 also, you don't have, if you're not using your database, you can just go and stop it, delete, reboot. Additionally, what you can do, there is a concept of read replica in RDS. So using this read replica, what happens? You create a copy of your database, and this database read replica is going to help in improving the performance of your application, database, your RDS instance performance. So if you are having, say one database instance running and you have one read replica, then what you can do? You can divert your read queries to your read replicas, and all your write queries only to your database instance. Right? In this way, also you can go and improve your you can improve the performance of your application. The other way is obviously using Elastic Cache, but again, this is something that we can also go for. Obviously, it is going to add up to the cost of your RDS instance, RDS billing, but obviously this is one more option that you can go for. Right? So again, based on your use case, you have to decide whether you want to go for Elastic Cache or whether you want to go for read replica. You can obviously go and take a snapshot. This taking a snapshot is equivalent to your manual. This is nothing but a manual snapshot. Okay. So if you want to have if you want to take a manual snapshot, manual backup, you can go and take this. How it is different from your automated backup? See, in case of automated backup, we can keep that backup only for max 535 days. But that is this restriction is not there for your manual backup. Manual backup is it is up to you how long you want to keep your manual backup. And manual backup, whatever you create, those are chargeable. And if you have some snapshot, you can obviously migrate your snapshot to some other region. That is why we have this option of migrating the snapshot. Okay, restore to point in time. If you have an automated backup, from that automated backup, you can perform this restore point in time. Right. So these are a couple of amazing features of RDS that can be utilized anytime based on your budget.
Sir, how can we export the database?
Database export. So from one region, if you want to export it to another region, first of all you have to take a snapshot, manual snapshot of your database, and this snapshot you can restore in some other region, or you can restore this snapshot in the same region also. So this is the way you
can. Out of the AWS. I don't want to 1 year say I want to take away my data. Anything else?
I didn't get you. Come again, please. There was a drop in the voice.
Actually, see, 1 year it's free, but say later on 1 or 2 years, I don't want to continue with the AWS, but I want my entire database from that system.
Okay, then I
So and then I will do my what other kind of arrangements. I don't want to remain with the AWS. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, okay. So this particular snapshot, you can, once you take this snapshot, you can move it to S3, and from there you can download it, right? But once you are running your database in, RDS, there at the max, what you can do is you should be, you should try to, get your database tables and all, right? So you can take a snapshot, and that snapshot you can download it from your S3 and take it on your local machine.
Okay.
Okay, so that you can try. That is the
So
way we can just.
one more question, sir. This is now.
Can we take it at the end of the session discussion? Because again, yeah, there are other people also who are. So we will take it. We will be having half an hour time after the end of the session. Today being Saturday, I have additional time and still continue today till 12:30
Hello.
or 12:45. So please wait for that time. We will take each and every
Stop
session.
now.
Okay. So. So 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 we can immediately go and create our virtual private cloud. Okay. So what I will do, I will what I think you can immediately so we can go ahead and use this VPC wizard, create our and then we'll see how things work. Okay. So what I will do, I will before that you can see here in my VPC, you can immediately go ahead and use this VPC wizard, create our see how this is the VPC that I created yesterday. If you just click on this, you will get the creation date and all. So this is a VPC which is working fine, and this VPC I can just remove this one, and then so how this exactly look like if I have to go and draw a block diagram, how it is going to look like. So first of all, what I need to do, I need to create a VPC. So VPC is going to be there within your the scope is going to be it's a virtual thing, right? The scope is going to be across your availability zone. It is up to you what you want to keep within your VPC. How many availability zone you want to keep within your VPC, right? So if this is my if this entire box is my region, I can go and create a VPC here, right? Something like this. Okay, so this VPC we can go and create. So let me show you how we can go and create this VPC, manually, step by step. Wizard, it is just a click of matter. Right? If you go, I'll show you how to. If you want to go with the help of Wizard, it happens immediately. Right? Click VPC using Wizard, you get this 4 different. There's a lot of job behind the scene. Fine. So if you want to just create one single VPC with subnet, you can go and select this and start putting some variables, and it will go and create it. If you want to have a public as well as a private subnet, you can select this option and go ahead. So you can see that, outer the basic architecture. So this is your VPC, the outer boundary. Within that, we are having a public subnet, okay, and a private subnet. Private subnet, obviously, it is not accessible from the outside world. Nobody will be able to connect to this subnet, the instance which is running within the subnet from the outside world. But obviously, I can, the users are going to connect to my instance, and from that instance, they can go and connect to the private subnet. Why we need NAT? If we understand the concept of NATing, right, it is there on our routers and all that we are using. So on the private subnet, whatever the instance that I am running, right, whether it is an RDS instance or my instance running on EC2, running a database, that database, if I have to install, right, or I suppose it is already there using I go and create a private instance using a MySQL AMI, then the database is going to be there on this private subnet. Now, if I want to perform any kind of upgrade on this MySQL database instance, how that request is going to move out of my VPC? Because externally, I cannot go and connect with my local machine and directly start. Even if I go and connect to this private instance, which is there in private subnet, my request should go out of this subnet, right? And to do that, we need a NAT gateway or NAT instance. So with the help of NAT, I will be able to fetch the download, which is somewhere there outside of Amazon region. MySQL, Oracle is maintaining it. So I should be able to move out to the public internet and from there pull the download. To do this, we will be needing NAT. Okay. So let us go and use this option to create the setup. Okay, it is going to save us time, a lot of time, and I will do that. But before that, what I need to do, I can get rid of these two instances because this is again important. I want to release this elastic IP address, otherwise it becomes chargeable after 1 hour. Okay. If your elastic IP address is not associated to any instance, it becomes chargeable. And just give me 1 moment. I'll go and delete my VPC. This VPC also I can delete. The moment my instance is deleted, see the instance that I have deleted, those are part of my this custom VPC. And to delete those VPC, those virtual machines, I need to first of all, I cannot go and delete my VPC if this VPC consists of any one running virtual machine. So delete terminated, so I can now go back and get rid of this VPC. Okay. This is something that we all will be doing. And when you delete a VPC, whatever is there within that VPC, the subnet, the security group, the network access control list. What is network access control list? Basically, it is there for the security of your entire subnet. Okay, internet gateway, it is entry point for your VPC. Egress only internet gateway. E means request that moves out of your VPC. So egress only internet gateway, we need it for IPv6 address space. Okay. Route tables, no router, but only route table to configure. Network interface. The network interface is going to be associated with all your EC2 and RDS instance, any kind of instance. Peer connection, nothing. Peer connection, it is talking about the VPC peering. And endpoint, this is nothing but VPC endpoint. So these all things can be deleted by just one click of button. Okay. And these are the things that this launch wizard is going to create for us. Okay. And whatever is happening, there is a concept of VPC flow log that we need to go and enable, and this will help us to identify the request that is reaching to our EC2 instance or DB instance. Okay, so this you have to go and do. Fine. So I will go to now VPC dashboard and take the help of this wizard to create this. So once you select this option, you have to decide about the CIDR block. Okay. So this is the maximum number of virtual machines
that you can create within a VPC. Right. So this is that maximum number. Let's give it a name. I'll give it a name like demo VPC. And again, first of all, I have to decide the CIDR of my VPC, and then for my public subnet. Right. I want this to be in 1A and my private in my 1B availability zone. Just give it a name like pub subnet 1. The CIDR of private subnet is different than 1. So this we have to keep in mind. So with this net mask, we are going to get 251 IP addresses. Okay. So this much virtual machine I can have in my public subnet. So this value 24 can vary from 16 to 28 max. Right? For our subnet. There is again a lot of good concept behind this. You can easily go and Google and find out related data how to create a subnet. If you Google and something like there is one CIDR calculator, you can easily find out to determine how many subnet you can go and have. Okay. These are not good. Yeah, this one is really good. You can go and use this to find out how many subnets you can have. Right. So here you can decide. Okay. So 16 is the count for this subnet mask. Okay. So if I change it to say 24, you can see we are getting the count as 256. Now you will ask me why we are Amazon is giving us showing us only 251, because the remaining 5 are reserved by Amazon for some internal purpose. Okay, and that is the reason we are not getting the entire count. And these all we can calculate. I think people from electronics and computer science background, they should be able to perform this calculation. Okay, so done. Private subnet I have decided, public done. Then elastic IP address. If I want, why elastic IP address? Now for our private instance, any kind of update that I want to perform on my private instance, I will be needing a NAT gateway or NAT instance. Right? NAT gateways are chargeable. So for the demonstration purpose, if you don't want to spend any money, don't go for NAT gateway. NAT gateway is a managed service. NAT instance is not a managed one. You have to go and create it. So click on use NAT instance. You will not end up paying anything. Change the instance type to T2 micro. Why? Because T2 micro instance type are free within our free tier. You have to decide about the key pair. I will go and use the key pair that I am using for my EC2 instance, right? And if you want to connect to your, S3 service, you can go and create a service endpoint. From here, you have to select your S3 service name, and then you have to select. Why I am selecting this subnet, private subnet, because from my private subnet, I want to connect to my S3. Right, just for the demonstration purpose. Assume that I have to read some data from S3. For that, I have to go and select in which subnet my VPC endpoint should be created. Any policy, custom policy, or you can give the provide full access for somebody using this endpoint. Right, we'll continue with the default one. If you want, you can go and add additional endpoints. Okay. And we'll continue with the default one. Just click on create. It will take some time. So whatever I am showing you with the help of Wizard, see, it was possible to do this within 5 minutes, right? If you go and create everything from scratch, right? That step I have already shared with you. You can go and use that. There are around 25 to 30 steps. If you go and do this thing on your own, you will be first of all creating a VPC, right? So assume that this is your VPC. Okay, so VPC, and then so this is your VPC, right? You can go and use this to write that, okay, this is my VPC, and it's not that user friendly. I should be using something else. This is my VPC. Now with VPC, you have created a VPC. Step number 1, go and create an internet gateway and attach that internet gateway here.
then go and once you create VPC, there will be some certain default resources that will come into picture. Right, one will be network access control list. Right, network access control list is denoted by something like this. A route table is again also going to be created. Right, there is no router configuration, only route table. So one route table is also going to be created. Right, and a security group, default security group for your VPC. And within this subnet, what you can do, you can go and create your public subnet. Okay, public subnet and a private subnet. Okay. So in this way, you will go and create everything and connect them to each other. How to do that? Again, if I start the demonstration, it is going to take at least 45 minutes to 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes to complete that. But for the sake of time, we are just using Wizard. And in production also, we go and do that. Why that creating VPC from scratch is important? Just for the understanding, right? Somebody who is new to VPC, they should be knowing that how to configure each and everything from scratch. So first of all, you have to go and let me open that document. Custom VPC. Yeah. If you look into this document, the entire step is there. So you have to go and create a VPC, select a particular range for CIDR for your VPC, and then this setups you have to one by one you have to go and create. Then create an internet gateway, and that internet gateway has to be attached to your VPC. Then again, a route table is going to be created by default because of this VPC. So you have to go and take control of each and everything. Okay, so you can see here minimum you have to go and execute these many steps. Around 21 are there. Okay, before you can think of connecting to your EC2 instance. So for the sake of time, what we will do, we will just use our VPC, right? Custom VPC created with the help of Wizard. Okay, so in this we will go and see. So just remember this, VPC ID we might be needing while verifying other resources related to this VPC. So 64B, if you go and click on subnet, so subnet route tables, we have to go and verify internet gateway. Egress, we are not doing anything with the egress as of now. Endpoints, we can go and verify. And obviously, we are not having NAT gateway, we are using NAT instance, so nothing there. Yeah, network access ACL. There will be one default network access control list that we will be, looking into. Security group, again, yeah, we have already opened that page. So this much we will need to, understand. Okay, all are opening up. Security group. This I will close. I'll verify this one later. What is this? Net connection is really poor today. I mean, all my networks are doing. Okay, so this is the one particular. There are two subnets, right, in the VPC that we created right now. Okay. So, and this dashboard is related to the network access control list. So I can give it some name which will help me to identify. Demo and NACL. What is the purpose of NACL? NACL acts as security firewall for your subnet. So if you have two subnet, by default, all these all these subnets will be associated with your default network access control list. You can see here, I am having two subnets and both are associated with this network access control list. For better design, what you can do, you can go and create a single network access control list for your subnet. So if I am having two subnet, I can go and have two network access control list. And in that way, we have to manage that subnet association and what traffic can come and go out. So you can see here, as in case of security group, we are also having these inbound rules. Same we have inbound and outbound rules here in network access control list. With one major difference, and that difference is this last column.
So this wizard also creates two route table, one main. So even if you are having say 10 route table, out of that only one can be main, and that you can switch anytime. Suppose this is my normal route table, I can go and make it a main route table. That is it is never going to be connected, and it should never be connected to the main route table, right? And if you are connecting your internet gateway to the main route table, then you should understand that why you are doing it. Okay, so with main route table, what this wizard has connected, it has connected using the default network access control list. If you want, you can have one-to-one association between your network access control list and your subnets. And ideally in production, we go and do that. One subnet for one network access control list, but again, it depends upon use case what we are handling. Okay, this is what we have, and so we are done with the entire the basic building blocks of VPC are there. What we have to do, we have to go and create instance, right? On this screen, you can see only one instance, right? This is for our access to database, and the other one, this one was created. Now, this is what is this? How to verify? This is the NAT instance, right? Right. How to verify this? From the description. So look at the AMI. This AMI is based on NAT. Right? You can see here Amazon-AMI-VPC -NAT. So for instance to work as a NATing instance, we have to select that AMI. Other way around, you have to go and select blank EC2 instance, and on top of that, you have to do all these installation on your own. But this NAT instance is NAT based AMI is available within that community AMI. So from there you can search and use it for creation in case you are not using the VPC wizard. So I'll just give it a name so that there is no confusion and you have to do this. Okay, so this is an NAT instance which is created in my NAT instance will always be there in your public. Okay, you can see here it is created in the public. Okay. So let's go and create our public instance. Create here. Select continue with T2 micro. Step number 3, very important. Select your VPC. Don't go ahead with the default VPC. And once you select your VPC, with respect to your VPC, whatever subnets are available, those will be displayed. So first of all, I want to create my public instance, so I will select this option. You can
come down to 250 because that
ये लगा
one is one is about to be created. So we are left with 250 IP addresses. So this subnet setting, the default because that one is about to be created. So we are left with 250 IP
हो
addresses.
झालं.
So this subnet setting, the default subnet which is created at that level, the subnet setting for auto-assigned public IP address is set to disable. But I want a public IP for this
ठीक आहे
instance
झालं
because this
झालं.
is a public instance.
फक्त दिसतंय
So I
का?
am selecting enable from here. Okay. Here I don't need to run any script, but we can obviously do this, right? Just to ensure that everything was
हे
fine.
बघ ते. हां हां.
Why I am running this particular script just to ensure that every configuration within my VPC is fine. Then only we will be able to get this index.php some other easy. Okay. So this is my public instance and it is there in 1A. So I will create this. My subnet is obviously there in some other availability zone. So that's fine. I don't need to worry about this. So here I again need to select my own VPC and private subnet this time. Right? Private subnet and then I will continue with this disabled option. Why? Because for the private instance, I don't need any kind of public IP address. Okay. So just go ahead and continue on. So here I don't want to run any script because I want to perform an MySQL installation on my private subnet using that particular NAT instance. Okay. So let's go ahead, add tags, add tag, and this is going to be my private. Okay. Private instance. Continue with the security group. For private, I have to create a separate security group. Okay. Same cannot work. Why? Because private SG. And here I will be opening only SSH. Okay. That's it. Fine. Review and launch. Launch. Same key pair. Confirm. Go. So what we have done, we have created a VPC, and in that VPC we have two subnets. One is public, the other one is private. We have created a public instance in that public subnet, and we have also started the process of creating a. We have also in the process of creating a private instance. Private instance will not be having any public IP, so it's not going to be accessible from outside. Okay. So this is my public instance. It is already up and running, so I can verify whether I can see that index page here or not. Okay. So it is visible. So every configuration within my VPC, right from internet gateway to the route table to network access control list to security group, everything is in place. Okay. So what I will do, I have to connect to my private instance. So first of all, I have to go and jump to my public. Why I want to connect to my private instance? Because there I want to install MySQL. And since my private instance is not going to have any kind of public IP address, there is no way I can connect to my private instance directly. You can see this is this public DNS name and public IPv4 address. It's blank. Okay, so I cannot connect to this private instance directly. Why? Because your SSH client needs a public IP address or a public DNS name to perform or initiate an SSH connection. Right? So to connect it to this private instance, I first of all need to connect to my public instance, and from that public instance I can jump to my any other instance which is public or private. Okay. So what I will do, I will connect to my public instance first. Take the connection string, Control C, and then just go back to your window. I will start a new session. Okay. So first of all, I will connect to my. Okay, this particular demonstration, I have to do it through PuTTY. Why? Because when I have to connect to a public instance, that security key is there on my local machine. I can easily connect to my this public instance. But when I have to jump from public instance to the private instance, from the public instance, I have to run my connection command. To do that, I have to first of all copy my key pair to my public instance. Then only I would be run this connection command. But that is not the best way of connecting to your instance. So for that, what we will use? We will use PuTTY along with Pagent. So Pagent is again a service which is going to hold my key, right? And that particular key I will be, and this Pagent is going to pass on that reference of my key when I will be trying to connect to my private instance. Let us see how it works. So I am going to launch my Pagent. Right, I have shared this file also. You can go and use it. So to this Pagent, I will attach my. You can see here it is running. I need to attach my keys here. Which key? PPK. So you can go and use the same. If you all are using the same key that we created, a couple of days back, you can use that same key again. So here I have to go and attach that same key. So I am having that PPK format of my PEM file. I will select this option, click on open, and this key is going to be associated here. Okay. So if we open this one, we can see that associated key here. Okay. Let's use PuTTY to connect to this public instance. Okay. Public connection string, Control C, and then come back to your PuTTY tool and use this name. You cannot use the entire thing, but yeah, because that key is going to be, here we don't. So this is the host name that we have to specify from PuTTY, ec2-user at the rate public DNS name of my instance.
Okay. And after that, click on SSH, go to auth, and this time you don't need to browse for your PPK file. Why? Because that is going to be served from this Pagent running on your machine. Okay. But you have to select this agent forwarding, and because of this, your SSH key reference will get passed to the command that you are going to run from public instance. Okay. So just select this option in this particular case, click on open.
And if everything is fine, it is going to give me this confirmation and connect to my public instance. Okay, so just increasing the font so that it's easy to our eyes. 16. Okay, apply. Okay. So now I am connected to my public instance, right? And once you connect to your, sorry, I am connected to my public instance. And once you enter your VPC, within your VPC, internally within the VPC, every communication happens on the private IP address. Important to remember. Okay. So here, if you want, you can go and just verify again if those files are present, where exactly they are present, and run the list command. Okay. But what we need right now, we just want to run from my public instance. I want to connect to my private instance. Right? Now, how to do that? Okay. So just come back to my user directory, and from here I will run the connection command. So how to connect to your EC2 private instance? This is the command: SSH EC2 -user at the rate of. You have to find out the private IP of your private instance. So this is my private IP 10.0.187. 10.0.187. This is what we have to use here. This is again going to ask you for the confirmation, and now it is connected to my private instance. So this way you will be able to connect to your private instance via public instance. Okay? And once you are connected, now we have to verify. Connection is easy. We did not create that NAT instance just for establishing a connection to your private instance from your public instance. That verification of NAT instance is still pending. And that will be possible if we can go and just say sudo yum update and update the existing AMI of the software which is there, which comes with that AMI. And if we are able to run this command successfully, then only we can confirm and say that, yeah, NAT is working and it is able to, and it is allowing me to download something to my public, private instance. So it is working now. Okay. But for some additional verification, what we will do, we will go and remove that NAT entry from the route table. Okay. Let us see what happens. We are at the route table. Where is my NAT instance configuration? That route configuration is where? The routes configuration. It is with the normal route table. So you can see here, I have these entries. No, this is not with this one. This is there with the main route table. Sorry. So with the main route table, I am having my So this is the entry, the last one, because of which my private instance is able to download the updates. So what I will do, just for our verification, I will go and remove it, save it, and then see what happens next. Okay. Now, what I will do, I will try to install MySQL database on my private instance. I am connected to my private instance, right? How you can verify? Using the private IP address, right? 10.1.187. This is the private IP address of my private instance. And if you come back to your instance, this is what is shown here. So for public, we have 00182, but right now we are connected to our private. So now let's try to install MySQL. Sudo yum install, okay, MySQL. Fine. And see what happens. I have removed. It is doing it. Why? Because it takes time to implement those changes to your route table. Okay, so if we do it after some time, it is going to fail because we have removed this route entry. Okay, so it takes some time. The route tables configuration, it takes some time. I ran it immediately, so it is showing me it is not showing me any failure. But if we do it after say couple of minutes, it will not allow me to do any changes here. Okay, so this way you can go and create your VPC, and in that VPC you can go and decide how many virtual machines you want to keep within a subnet, and those subnets will be having what kind of instance. You can have multiple different types of instance within a subnet. Right? Similarly, in your private subnet also, you can go and keep a number of private instance. It could be a database, it could be related to some of your business logic. Those all you can go and keep within your private subnet. Okay. So this route table changes, it does take some time to propagate, though the status will change active immediately, but it does take some time. So once you go and do it on your own, once you go and create this setup with the help of Wizard or directly from right from the scratch, you will come across this kind of situation. So whenever there is some issue with your VPC, first of all, where you should be looking? You should be first of all looking at your route tables, whether the subnet association is proper or not. If the subnet association is proper, then you need to verify whether the routes are set properly or not, right? In all your route table configuration. And then you have to go and verify your network access control list, if everything is fine within your network access control list or not, right? And then you have to come back to the security group of your subnet. Okay. You can have more than one security group within your subnet. That is also fine, right? Or you can, if you want, you can have um, a set of particular EC2 instance, and they are connected to a common security group. That kind of security group you can have. You can have more than one security group within your subnet. The only condition is your subnet should not be overlapping. What it means? Suppose if you have suppose you have a security group with security group ID1, and there is one more security group with security group ID2. In both of these subnet, they shouldn't be overlapping. That means if I have port HTTP open in ID1, then in ID2, security group ID2, I should not be having that HTTP again. Right? If I'm having HTTP again in my security group ID2, then whenever we go and attach these two security group to a particular instance, then there it will throw us an error saying that there is an overlap of security group. So doesn't matter how many of them we are attaching, how many security groups we are attaching to our EC2 instance. All these security groups must be having unique set of ports open. Right? If that uniqueness is not there, then this association or attachment of security group will fail. So this is what we can, what we have to do from the scope of VPC to create our virtual machines and do a connection. See, in VPC also we have, we go to the dashboard again. In this wizard, you can see we have other options like, VPC with public and private subnet and hardware VPN access. So if you want to establish a connection between your institute or organization to cloud, you have to go and configure the VPN setup configuration, right? Hardware VPN. And similarly, you can go and have, so if you have only private subnet, then you can obviously have, again, you can establish this kind of connection. So these are the 4 templates. Beyond this also, whatever you want to do, you can go and do that. Amazon gives you that flexibility of creating those VPNs and associating your existing network setup within your premise with Amazon. Okay. So for that, we have site-to-site connection. We have client VPN endpoints. We have customer gateway, which is again, this customer gateway you need to, when you are going ahead with VPN configuration, you have to go and create a customer gateway on your institute side, within your private network, within your organization network. So customer gateway needs to be configured there. And virtual private gateway is going to be there on the Amazon side. And between these two, virtual private gateway and customer gateway, we will configure the VPN connection. It will again use IPv6 protocol for communication. Again, it is going to be dual channel. So if something goes wrong, the other channel is going to be available. So it is, in cloud also, we will not rarely find single point of failure for those services which are managed by Amazon. Okay. So as I told you, for connecting two different CPCs, we have peering connection, and if you have more than say, if you have very complex configuration, suppose there are 10 different types of VPC and those all needs to be configured with each other, it becomes very difficult to manage them through peering connection. And in that case, what we have to use, we have to go and use transit gateway. It is much better way of organizing your peering connections. Okay, so a lot of different configuration, a lot of different options available. You just need to figure out what option, what is going to be best for you, what is the volume of traffic you want to control, and based on that, you can just go and configure your VPC. Okay. So with this, I will start taking up questions. You can start, asking whatever you want to ask. I will be available for next 20 to 30 minutes, so you can put forward your queries. Okay, meanwhile, I will also check what's wrong with our RDS, because that should also work. Okay. So just I will open up the discussion channel. Okay. You can write your queries if you have anything on RDS in terms of how it can be configured or how what are the things that you want to keep. Based on your understanding, you can ask me whatever you want to ask with respect to your VPC or with respect to RDS.
Hello.
Yeah.
I have created the database instance. My database name is blank. It is there.
Okay.
Database name is blank.
Under configuration, database name is blank. So how to create the first database?
Okay. So you were saying that this one DB identifier is blank.
DB identifier, DB name, DB name.
Okay, DB name. That may be blank because actually once when we start creating this database instance, what happens? That particular setting is by default it is hidden. So you have to open that option and then put your details there. So if you ask me where you missed out, I'll just show you. If you can just follow on my screen. Just a moment, I'll just show you where exactly what you missed out basically. So standard create is fine. You can go ahead with this particular selection. And for just a moment, please. Bad situation.
Yeah. Just a moment. Yeah. So I had selected this MySQL.
Yeah. Creation is over. Database is created.
Yeah. So I am telling you where you missed out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to do it at the initial stage of instance creation. So if you come down, we had selected free tier. Okay.
Yeah.
My net speed is really bad. And then we have to go ahead and do this configuration.
Okay, that is also done.
That you must have done.
Yeah.
If you come down, these all are fine. You can just skip this thing. In connectivity, there, just below, above this database authentication, you have to provide the name of your
connectivity. Okay.
Yeah, scroll down. Additional connectivity. Oh, sorry, I think it is below that. Yeah, additional configuration. In this, you have to mention your DB name.
Okay.
I think you forgot on this additional configuration.
So
if you don't provide any name to your database, then what will happen? You have to again, use some kind of database client, or you should be installing MySQL on your local machine, and then connecting to your RDS instance, and then you have to create this database. Okay, so that is the only way.
The database which now we'll use it in the URL database name, because this is instance, not database, right?
Yeah, see, this database name is going to be the name that we will be using for in this particular case. Database name, right? DB name. DB name is going to be different. Host name is going to be different. Host name is going to be your DB ID, right? Endpoint ID.
So this DB name should be now entered there.
Yeah, DB name you will need for this particular demo. If you want to go ahead as it is, then you have to use that particular DB name. So that DB name you missed out, I feel.
Okay, and then how to create the tables and
yeah, that's what. If you want to create a table, then you have to use some kind of. See, you can do it through from your application. From your application also, you can establish a connection and then start firing the queries. Okay. Or what you can do, you can go and use any MySQL client. So Workbench is something what I use normally to do some kind of basic demo.
I request others to go mute. I think somebody is unmute. Sorry, ma'am, kindly mute.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think it is launching. Takes some time to launch. This is I am getting. So this is going to be our. Okay. So this is my MySQL Workbench client. Okay. I need to establish a connection with my database instance. What I need to do, first of all, I have to.
Workbench will be local in my machine. Right?
Yeah, MySQL Workbench is going to be local on your machine.
Okay.
Correct.
This is okay.
Yeah, so you can do that, and there, first of all, you have to modify your DB instance configuration. You have to say that it should be publicly accessible. By default, it is not publicly accessible. right? And from your any such client, you have to just specify certain names, right? In host name, you have to provide the endpoint name, endpoint ID, right?
Right.
So this is the endpoint that we have to specify there.
Yeah, endpoint is there.
And username, in my case, it is admin, so I will provide this username. Password, I have to go and insert here. And once this is done, you can go and test the connection and say, okay, if it is able to establish the connection, you will get a confirmation success. Otherwise, it won't be able to establish the connection. Once that connection is done, you can do whatever you want. Because the purpose of RDS is just to give you a database instance. Once the database is there, it's up to you now how many table you want to create, what kind of relationship you want to keep there. That's all. Again, it's under your control.
So we can execute the queries from client side
Yes.
SQL client.
Yes. If you are, if you are able to authenticate with RDS instance, once you are connected to your instance, then you can obviously do whatever you want.
Just relax casually like
Any other question? Tomorrow I will show you that particular demo S3 demo of S3 again, where we will configure our own domain name with S3 endpoint, right? And for that, yesterday I had requested, I think, to create an account with free nom. Or if you are having some domain name, that's fine, right? That is also good. So you try to go create a domain name here, and then we will be able to link our domain name with the S3 endpoint. Okay. The other demonstration that we will do tomorrow is, the same files you can go and deploy in HTML also. If somebody wants, I can go and show you the same thing. Right. And then we will go ahead with our route. So since we will be configuring Route 53, this DNS service, we will talk about in some detail where to use what. There is a concept of routing policies, how to go and use those routing policies. Those we will obviously go and discuss. And that is one of the main core concept of Route 53. And apart from that, I'll show you how you can go and start using CloudWatch. And then finally, I will show you how to achieve some amount of automation using, again, with this service known as Lambda. In other words, serverless. So in that Lambda, I will show you how you can automate the process of stopping your EC2 instance. Or even if you want to terminate your instance, that is also possible. So what we will do, from CloudWatch, we will create an event, and that event is going to stop my EC2 instance. How this configuration will happen, what all services will come into picture, how we can create that configuration. So tomorrow there is one more concept, roles. We will understand how role plays an important role in the entire infrastructure and the configuration. Okay. So these are a couple of topics. Tomorrow the session may extend till 1 o'clock to go. If you can come with your mentally prepared to have this to take to the conclusion. This RDS thing I will check again and will
So my RDS instance, shall I delete or shall I stop?
No, you can stop it. You can stop it, or I would suggest that since that DB name is missing, you go and terminate it, delete it, and create a new one with the DB name.
Okay.
That would be useful. That will save basically time.
Okay. And one more, is it possible to accommodate tomorrow IoT, Amazon IoT, some kind of
that would be really difficult.
Okay.
It's a huge topic.
Okay.
Right. It needs a lot of effort. But whatever we are discussing within this scope, I will be again talking about billing also, because that is going to be one of the most important area where everyone should be focusing, because unnecessarily you shouldn't come across any kind of bill. You should be knowing whenever you go and use any service in cloud, you should know beforehand what could be the impact in terms of bill. So billing is also something that I will share some more into there. So whatever we have done related to this only we can talk. There are much more concepts that we can focus on. IoT, AI, machine learning, those are really different. Even media related services, those are very different services. For real time, we have again Kinesis and those kind of services. So those will take good amount of time. Okay. So Gauri ma'am, you can continue with your discussion.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you, Arvind sir, for today's session.
Thank you, ma'am.
In today's session, we came to know about Amazon Relational Database Service, AWS Default Virtual Private Network, and configuring network in AWS Cloud. In tomorrow's session, we will be discussing about the configuring DNS service, AWS CloudWatch, and AWS Lambda serverless architecture. Thank you all the participants for attending the today's session. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, all participants.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.